हरे कृष्णा। आप सभी को मेरी आवाज आ रही है? किसको कोई बता सकता है? मुझे प्लीज कंफर्म कर सकता है?
यस ब्रो।
तो सबसे पहले आप सभी को जन्माष्टमी की शुभकामनाएं। हम स्टार्ट करेंगे हरे कृष्णा महामंत्र बोल के। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। आप सभी भक्तों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आज सिर्फ 2 घंटे के लिए हम इंग्लिश में पढ़ेंगे कृष्णा बुक। मैं कोशिश करूंगा जितना ज्यादा हम पढ़ सकें उतना पढ़ेंगे। और आप सभी के लिए, जो आप मेरे साथ जुड़े हैं, आप सभी के लिए मेरे पास एक सरप्राइज भी है। वो सरप्राइज है, सरप्राइज क्या, मैसेज में बता दिया गया है। वो है भक्ति मैनर का दर्शन। नहीं, हिंदी में नहीं है। मेरी हिंदी भगवान श्री कृष्ण की कृपा से बहुत खराब है। अ, मैं हिंदी प्रॉपरली पढ़ नहीं पाता हूँ काफी साल, 20-25 साल से हिंदी नहीं पढ़ी है मैंने। आई एम मोर वेल वर्स्ड इन इंग्लिश। तो उसके लिए मैं आप सभी से क्षमा चाहता हूँ। आज हम सबसे पहले दर्शन करेंगे। नहीं प्रभु जी, इंग्लिश में है आज की कृष्णा बुक की रीडिंग, 2 आवर्स की। तो मैं लास्ट वीक गया था भक्ति मैनर, जो है लंदन के पास, लंदन से तकरीबन 2 घंटा दूर, सिटी से थोड़ा दूर है। वॉटफोर्ड करके एक जगह है। अगर आपने बीटल्स का नाम सुना है, बहुत ही पॉपुलर यूके का बैंड है। अभी तक चला आ रहा है। उनके एक सिंगर थे, उन्होंने श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी को वॉटफोर्ड में ये एक इस्कॉन को गिफ्ट किया था, जॉर्ज हैरिसन ने। तो वहां पे तकरीबन 70 एकर्स में वो टेम्पल है। बहुत ही सीरीन है। मैं आपको फोटोज भी दिखाऊंगा। हम आई थिंक 1 बजे एक ब्रेक लेंगे छोटा सा, तब मैं आपको वीडियोस भी दिखाऊंगा। और अगर आप अभी चाहते हैं तो कृष्णा बुक की स्टार्ट करने से पहले मैं आप सभी को कोशिश करता हूँ दर्शन कराने की, के टेम्पल के प्रेमिसेस कैसे हैं और कैसे दिखते हैं। तो मैं, और उसके बाद हम स्टार्ट करेंगे कृष्णा बुक रीडिंग। हरी बोल। स्क्रीन पे अगर मैं जाऊं, पॉडकास्ट। क्या आप सभी को मेरी स्क्रीन दिखाई दे रही है? अभी कोई बताना चाहेगा मुझे? हरी बोल। यस प्रभु जी, चलिए। तो आपको अब दिखाते हैं ये दर्शन टेम्पल का। ये वॉटफोर्ड में एंट्री हो रही है। यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं श्रील प्रभुपाद जी। और ये देखिए, बहुत ही सुंदर दर्शन थे। आई थिंक वन ऑफ द मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल डीटीज जो मैंने आज तक देखे हैं। बहुत ही काम, बहुत ही सीरीन, बिल्कुल जंगलों के बीच में ये टेम्पल है। और यहाँ पे श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी का प्रणाम है, प्रणाम मंत्र भी लिखा हुआ है। पूरी तरीके से अडोर्न्ड है, ब्यूटीफुल वुड का स्ट्रक्चर है। हर जगह पिक्चर्स हैं। बहुत ही सुंदर टेम्पल है ये। और मैं आशा करता हूँ कि आप सब वहां जाएं। ये एंट्री पॉइंट है टेम्पल का। यहाँ से एंट्री होती है, जहाँ पे श्रीला प्रभुपाद के द्वारा लिखी गई सारी बुक्स भी हैं। और ये एंट्री पॉइंट है। तो अ, क्या आपको दिखाई दिए दर्शन? कोई बताना चाहेगा? मैंने स्क्रीन शेयरिंग तो करी थी, मुझे दिख रहा था। अगर कोई मुझे बताना चाहे तो बता सकता है मुझे प्राइवेटली मैसेज करके। यस, ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच। हरे कृष्णा। तो उसके बाद अब जब हम 1 बजे ब्रेक लेंगे पानी का, आप सभी के लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि आप सब पानी पिएं, ध्यान करें श्री कृष्ण का आज। तो उस टाइम पे मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा एक बहुत ही सुंदर दर्शन। वो है श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी के क्वार्टर्स का, जहाँ पे श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी एक्चुअल में रहते थे। तो वो आज के टाइम पे कैसा पूरा उसको बचाया हुआ है, कैसे उसको प्रोटेक्ट करा हुआ है, और अंदर से कैसा वो दिखता है, वो हम उसको उसके भी दर्शन करेंगे। और लास्ट में मैं आपको थोड़ा थोड़ा पिक्चर्स दिखाना चाहूंगा उस टेम्पल के। तो चलिए, अब मैं आपके साथ शेयर करता हूँ अपनी स्क्रीन, जो है कृष्णा बुक। हरे कृष्णा। तो ये बुक है कृष्णा, द सुप्रीम पर्सनालिटी ऑफ गॉड हेड, बाय हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद, जो है फाउंडर आचार्य ऑफ इस्कॉन। यहाँ पे बुक्स दी गई हैं जो श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी ने लिखी हैं। और यहाँ पे एप्पल का भी थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन है, जॉर्ज हैरिसन के द्वारा, जहाँ पे हमने अभी देखा था जॉर्ज हैरिसन ने जो श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी को इस्कॉन को गिफ्ट किया। अब टेबल ऑफ कंटेंट्स जो है, प्रीफेस है, इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है, तो इंट्रोडक्शन से स्टार्ट करेंगे। उसके बाद है द एडवेंट ऑफ लॉर्ड श्री कृष्णा। ये आज बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि आज जन्माष्टमी है और आज का ही दिन है जब लॉर्ड श्री कृष्णा का एडवेंट हुआ था। उसके बाद प्रेयर्स बाय द डेमिगॉड्स फॉर लॉर्ड श्री कृष्णा इन द वूम, द बर्थ ऑफ लॉर्ड श्री कृष्णा, कंसा begins his prosecution, the meeting of Nanda and Vasudev, पूतना killed। तो हम एटलीस्ट कोशिश करेंगे 2 घंटे में चैप्टर 3 चैप्टर 4 तक पढ़ने की, ताकि आज हम इस सब पे कॉन्टेम्पलेट कर पाए। आपसे मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है कि काइंडली आप हो सके तो ये कृष्णा बुक जरूर पढ़ें। बहुत ही रेलिशिंग बुक है, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग बुक है। आप श्री कृष्ण के बारे में सब कुछ जान सकते हैं, सब कुछ पहचान सकते हैं। तो और ये कृष्ण बुक कहाँ से है, कैसे है, वो हम अभी पढ़ते हैं। तो स्टार्ट करने से पहले फिर से बोलते हैं, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। अगर मुझसे कोई गलती हो कृष्ण बुक रिसाइट करते हुए तो काइंडली मुझे माफ करें। अगर मेरी स्पीड स्लो है, फास्ट है, अगर मैं ऑडिबल नहीं हूँ, अगर मेरा प्रोनाउंसिएशन थोड़ा सा रॉन्ग है, तो काइंडली मुझे माफ करें मेरी गलती के लिए। इंट्रोडक्शन। While attempting to write this book, Krishna, let me first offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master. Om Vishnupad 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Then let me offer my respectful obeisances to the Ocean of Mercy, Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna Himself, appearing in the role of a devotee just to distribute the highest principles of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya began his preaching from the country known as Gudardesha, West Bengal. And as I belong to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, I must therefore offer my respectful obeisances to the disciplinic succession of that name. This Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya is also known as Brahma Sampradaya because the disciplinic succession originally began from Brahma. Brahma instructed the sage Narad. Narad instructed Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva instructed Madhav Muni or Madhavacharya. Sri Madhvendra Puri, the originator of the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, was a sannyasi, renunciate, who belonged to the Madhavacharya disciplinic succession. He had many renowned disciples such as Nityanand Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and Ishwar Prabhu. Ishwar Puri. Ishwar Puri happened to be the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us offer our respectful obeisances to Ishwar Puri, Nityanand Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, Sri Vas Pandit, and Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Next, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Swarup Damodar, who acted as the private secretary to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sri Vasudev Dutt and the constant attendant of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Govinda, and the constant friend of Lord Chaitanya, Mukunda, and also to Murari Gupta. And let us offer our respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Sri Jeev Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Sri Krishna himself has explained in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that whenever there are discrepancies in the regulative principles of man's religious life and a prominence of irreligious activities, he appears on this earthly planet. In other words, when Lord Shri Krishna appeared, there was a necessity of minimizing the load of sinful activities accumulated on this planet or in this universe. For affairs of the material creation, Lord Mahavishnu, the plenary portion of Shri Krishna, is in charge. Thus, when the Lord descends, the incarnation emanates from Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the original cause of material creation, and from him, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands, and then Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Generally, all the incarnations appearing within this material universe are plenary expansions of Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Therefore, the business of minimizing the overload of sinful activities on this earth does not belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself. But when Sri Krishna appears, all the Vishnu expansions join with him. Sri Krishna's different expansions, namely Narayana, the quadruple expansion of Vasudeva, Shankarshan, Pradyuman, and Anirudh, as well as partial plenary expansions like Matsya, the incarnation of a fish, and the Yuga avatars, incarnations for the millennium, and the Manvantara avatars, incarnations who appear during the reign of the Manus, all combine together and appear with the body of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna is the complete whole, and thus all plenary expansions and incarnations always live with him. Therefore, when Sri Krishna appeared, Lord Vishnu was him. Sri Krishna actually appears in order to demonstrate his Vrindavan pastimes, and in this way attract the fortunate conditioned souls and invite them back to home, back to Godhead. The killing of the demons in Vrindavan was carried out only by the Vishnu portion of Sri Krishna. The Lord's abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 20th verse, where it is stated that there is another eternal nature, the spiritual sky, which is transcendental to this manifested and non-manifested matter. The manifested world can be seen in the form of many stars and planetary systems, such as the sun and moon. But beyond this, there is a non-manifested portion which is not approachable by anyone in this body. And beyond that non-manifested matter is the spiritual kingdom. That kingdom is described in the Bhagavad Gita as supreme and eternal, never to be annihilated. This material nature is subject to repeated creation and annihilation. But that part, the spiritual nature, remains as it is eternally. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is also described in the Brahma Samhita as the abode of Chintamani. That abode of Lord Sri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There, the trees are called desire trees, and the cows are called Surabhi. The Lord is served there by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. His name is Govinda, the primeval Lord, and he is the cause of all causes. There, the Lord plays his flute, his eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like that of a beautiful cloud. On his head is a peacock feather. He is so attractive that he excels thousands of cupids. Lord Shri Krishna gives only a little hint in the Gita of his personal abode, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna actually appears with all his paraphernalia and demonstrates his activities in Vrindavan, then at Mathura, and then at Dwarka. The subject matter of this book will gradually reveal all these activities. The family in which Sri Krishna appeared is called the Yadu dynasty. This Yadu dynasty belongs to the family descending from Soma, the god in the moon planet. There are two different Kshatriyas families of the royal order, one descending from the king of the moon planet and the other descending from the king of the sun planet. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he generally appears in a Kshatriya family because he has to establish religious principles or the life of righteousness. The Kshatriya family is the protector of the human race according to the Vedic system. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in the family descending from the sun god, known as the Raghu Vansha. And when he appeared as Lord Shri Krishna, he did so in the family known as Yadu Vansha. There is a long list of the kings of the Yadu Vansha in the 9th canto, 24th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. All of them were great, powerful kings. Shri Krishna's father name was Vasudeva, son of Shurasena, descending from the Yadu dynasty. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not belong to any dynasty of this material world. But the family in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears becomes famous by his grace. For example, sandalwood is produced in the states of Malay. Sandalwood has its own qualifications apart from Malay. But because accidentally this wood is mainly produced in the states of Malay, it is known as Malayan sandalwood. Similarly, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, belongs to everyone. But just as the sun rises from the east, although there are other directions from which it could rise. So, by his own choice, the Lord appears in a particular family, and that family becomes famous. As explained above, when Sri Krishna appears, all his plenary expansions appear with him. Sri Krishna appeared along with Balram, Baldev, who is known as his elder brother. Balram is the original of Shankarshan, of the quadruple expansion. Balram is also the plenary expansion of Sri Krishna. In this book, the attempt will be made to show how Sri Krishna appeared in the family of the Yadu dynasty and how he displayed his transcendental characteristics. This is very vividly described in Srimad Bhagavatam, specifically the 10th canto. And thus, the basis of this book will be the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The pastimes of the Lord are generally heard and relished by liberated souls. Those who are conditioned souls are interested in reading stories of the material activities of some common man. Although similar narrations describing the transcendental activities of the Lord are found in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas, the conditioned souls still prefer to study ordinary narrations. They are not so interested in studying the narrations of the pastimes of the Lord Shri Krishna. And yet, the descriptions of the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna are so attractive that they are relishable for all classes of men. There are three classes of men in this world. One class consists of liberated souls. Another consists of those who are trying to be liberated. And the third consists of materialistic men. Whether one is liberated or is trying to be liberated, or is even grossly materialistic, the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna are worth studying. Liberated souls have no interest in materialistic activities. The impersonalist theory that after liberation one becomes inactive and need not hear anything does not prove that a liberated person is actually inactive. A living soul cannot be inactive. He is active either in the conditioned state or in the liberated stage. A diseased person, for example, is also active, but his activities are all painful. The same person, when freed from the diseased condition, is still active. But in the healthy condition, the activities are full of pleasure. Similarly, the impersonalists only seek to get free from the diseased conditioned activities, but they have no information of activities in the healthy condition. Those who are actually liberated and in full knowledge take to hearing the activities of Shri Krishna. Such engagement is pure spiritual activities. It is essential for persons who are actually liberated to hear about the pastimes of Shri Krishna. That is, the supreme, relishable subject matter for one in the liberated state. Also, if persons who are trying to be liberated hear such narrations as the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then their path of liberation becomes very clear. The Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam. By studying the Gita, one becomes fully conscious of the position of Lord Shri Krishna. And when he is situated at the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, he understands the narrations of Shri Krishna as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Shri Chaitanya has therefore advised his followers that their business is to propagate Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means narrations about Shri Krishna. There are two Krishna Kathas: narrations spoken by Shri Krishna and narrations spoken about Shri Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is the narration or the philosophy on the science of God spoken by Shri Krishna himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration about the activities and transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna. Both are Krishna Katha. It is the order of Lord Sri Chaitanya that Krishna Katha should be spread all over the world. Because if the conditioned souls, suffering under the pangs of material existence, take to Krishna Katha, then their path of liberation will be open and clear. The purpose of presenting this book is primarily to induce people to understand Sri Krishna or Krishna Katha, because thereby they can become freed from material bondage. This Krishna Katha will also be very much appealing to the most materialistic persons, because Sri Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, cowherd girls, are exactly like the loving affairs between young girls and boys within this material world. Actually, the sex feeling found in human society is not unnatural, because this same sex feeling is there in the original personality of Godhead. The pleasure potency is called Srimati Radharani. The attraction of loving affairs on the basis of sex feeling is the original feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we, the conditioned souls, being part and parcel of the Supreme, have such feelings also. But they are experienced within a perverted, minute condition. Therefore, when those who are after sex life in this material world hear about Sri Krishna's pastimes, the gopis, they will relish transcendental pleasure, although it appears to be materialistic. The advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual platform. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that if one hears the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna with the gopis from authorities with submission, then he will be promoted to the platform of transcendental loving service to the Lord, and the material disease of lust within his heart will be completely vanquished. In other words, such hearing will counteract material sex life. This book, Krishna, is filled with Krishna Katha, will thus appeal equally to the liberated souls and to persons who are trying to be liberated, as well as to the gross conditioned materialist. According to the statement of Maharaj Parikshit, who heard about Sri Krishna from Sukhdev Goswami, Krishna Katha is equally applicable to every human being, whatever condition of life he is in. Surely, everyone will appreciate it to the highest magnitude. But Maharaj Parikshit also warned that persons who are simply engaged in killing animals and in killing themselves may not be very much attracted to Krishna Katha. In other words, ordinary persons who are following the regulative moral principles of scriptures, no matter in what condition they are found, will certainly be attracted, but not persons who are killing themselves. The exact word used in Srimad Bhagavata is Pashugna, which means killing animals or killing oneself. Persons who are not self-realized and who are not interested in spiritual realization are killing themselves. They are committing suicide. Because this human form of life is specially meant for self-realization, by neglecting this important part of his activities, one simply wastes his time like the animals. So, he is Pashunkna. The other meaning of the word refers to those who are actually killing animals. This means persons who are animal eaters, even dog eaters, for they are all engaged in killing animals in so many ways, such as hunting and opening slaughterhouses. Such persons cannot be interested in Krishna Katha. King Parikshit was specially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefathers, particularly his grandfather, Arjun, was victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Sri Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence on this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaj Parikshit, the battlefield of Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjun had to fight with such great heroes as Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to Timingala fish in the ocean. The Timingala fish can very easily swallow up big whales. The great fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra could swallow many Arjuns very easily. But simply due to Sri Krishna's mercy, Arjun was able to kill all of them. Just as one can cross with no exertion over the little bit of water contained in the hoof print of a calf. So Arjun, by the grace of Sri Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Parikshit very much appreciated Sri Krishna's activities for many other reasons. Not only was his grandfather saved by Sri Krishna, but he himself was also saved by Sri Krishna. By the end of the Battle of Kurukshetra, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, both the sons and grandsons on the side of Dhritarashtra and those on the side of the Pandavas, had died in the fighting. Except for the 5 Pandav brothers, everyone died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Parikshit was at that time within the womb of his mother. His father, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjun, also died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And so Maharaj Parikshit was a posthumous child. When he was in the womb of his mother, a Brahmastra weapon was released by Ashwadhama to kill the child. When Parikshit Maharaj's mother, Uttara, approached Sri Krishna, seeing the danger of abortion, entered her womb as a super soul and saved Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit's other name is Vishnurata because he was saved by Lord Vishnu himself while still within the womb. Thus, everyone in any condition of life should be interested in hearing about Sri Krishna and his activities because he is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He is all pervading. Inside, he is living within everyone's heart, and outside, he is living as his universal form. And yet, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, he appears as he is in the human society just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode, back home, back to Godhead. Everyone should be interested in knowing about Sri Krishna, and this book is presented with this purpose, that people may know about Sri Krishna and be perfectly benefited in this human form of life. In the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Baldev is described as the son of Rohini, a wife of Vasudeva. Vasudev, the father of Sri Krishna, had 16 wives, and one of them was Rohini, the mother of Baldev. But Baldev is also described as the son of Devaki. So how could he be the son of both Devaki and Rohini? This was one of the questions put by Maharaj Parikshit to Sukdev Goswami, and it will be answered in due course. Maharaj Parikshit also asked Sukdev Goswami why Sri Krishna, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudeva, was immediately carried to the house of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, Gokula. He also wanted to know what the activities of the Lord Krishna were while he was in Vrindavan and while he was in Mathura. Besides that, he was specially inquisitive to know why Sri Krishna killed his maternal uncle Kansa. Kansa, being the brother of his mother, was a very intimate superior to Sri Krishna. So how was it that he killed Kansa? Also, Maharaj Parikshit asked how many years Lord Shri Krishna remained in human society, how many years he reigned over the kingdom of Dwarka, and how many wives he accepted there. A Kshatriya king is generally accustomed to accept more than one wife. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit also inquired about his number of wives. The subject matter of this book is Sukdev Goswami's answering of these and other questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit. The position of Maharaj Parikshit and Sukdev Goswami is unique. Maharaj Parikshit is the right person to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna, and Sukdev Goswami is the right person to describe them. If such a fortunate combination is made possible, then Krishna Katha immediately becomes revealed, and people may benefit to the highest possible degree from such a conversation. This narration was presented by Sukdev Goswami when Maharaj Parikshit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of the Ganges. In order to assure Sukdev Goswami that by hearing Krishna Katha, he would not feel tired, Maharaj Parikshit expressed himself very frankly. Hunger and thirst may give trouble to ordinary persons or to me. But the topics of Sri Krishna are so nice that one can continue to hear them without feeling tired, because such hearing situates one in the transcendental position. It is understood that one must be very fortunate to hear Krishna Katha as seriously as Maharaj Parikshit did. He was specially intent on the subject matter because he was expecting death at any moment. Every one of us should be conscious of death at every moment. This life is not at all assured. At any time, one can die. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So before death takes place, we must be fully Krishna conscious. At the point of his death, King Parikshit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukdev Goswami. When King Parikshit expressed his untiring desire to hear about Krishna, Sukdev Goswami was very pleased. Sukdev was the greatest of all Bhagavad reciters, and thus he began to speak about Sri Krishna's pastimes, which destroy all inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Sukdev Goswami thanked the king for his eagerness to hear about Sri Krishna. And he encouraged him by saying, "My dear king, your intelligence is very keen because you are so eager to hear about the pastimes of Sri Krishna." He informed Maharaj Parikshit that hearing and chanting the pastimes of Sri Krishna are so auspicious that the processes purify the three varieties of men involved. He who recites the transcendental topics of Sri Krishna, he who hears such topics, and he who inquires about him. These pastimes are just like the Ganges water, which flows from the toe of Lord Vishnu. They purify the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. अब हम चैप्टर 1 स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं। आप सभी को आवाज आ रही है? आप ठीक से साथ में पढ़ पा रहे हैं मेरे साथ? कोई बताना चाहेगा मुझे? हरे कृष्णा, थैंक यू वेरी मच। आवाज आ रही है? थैंक यू वेरी मच। तो चलिए अब स्टार्ट करते हैं चैप्टर 1, द एडवेंट ऑफ लॉर्ड श्री कृष्ण। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Once the world was overburdened by the unnecessary defense force of different kings, who were actually demons but were posing themselves as the royal order. At that time, the whole world became perturbed, and the predominating deity of this earth, known as Bhumi, went to see Lord Brahma to tell of a calamities due to the demonic kings. Bhumi assumed the shape of a cow and presented herself before Lord Brahma with tears in her eyes. She was bereaved and was weeping just to invoke the Lord's compassion. She related the calamitous position of the earth, and after hearing this, Lord Brahma became much aggrieved. And he at once started for the ocean of milk, where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Brahma was accompanied by all the demigods, headed by Lord Shiva, and Bhumi also followed. Arriving on the shore of the Milk Ocean, Lord Brahma began to pacify Lord Vishnu, who had formerly saved the earthly planet by assuming the transcendental form of a boar. In the Vedic mantras, there is a particular type of prayer called Purusha Shukta. Generally, the demigods offer their obeisances unto Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by chanting the Purusha Shukta. It is understood herein that the predominating deity of every planet can see the Supreme Lord of this universe, Brahma, whenever there is some disturbance on this planet. And Brahma can approach the Supreme Lord Vishnu not by seeing him directly, but by standing on the shore of the ocean of milk. There is a planet within this universe called Shweta and on that planet there is an ocean of milk. It is understood from various Vedic literatures that just as there is the ocean of salt water on this planet, there are various kinds of oceans on other planets. Somewhere there is an ocean of milk, somewhere there is an ocean of oil, and somewhere there are oceans of liquor and of many other types of liquids. The Purusha Shukta is the standard prayer which the demigods recite to appease the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshirodikshaya Vishnu, because he is lying on the ocean of milk. He is called Kshirodikshaya Vishnu. He is the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through whom all the incarnations within this universe appear. After all the demigods offered the Purusha Shukta prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they apparently heard no response. Then Lord Brahma personally sat in meditation, and there was a message transmission from Lord Vishnu to Brahma. Brahma then broadcast the message to the demigods. That is the system of receiving Vedic knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is first received first by Brahma from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of the heart. As stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kave, the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was transmitted to Lord Brahma through the heart. Here also, in the same way, only Brahma could understand the message transmitted by Lord Vishnu, and he broadcast it to the demigods for their immediate action. The message was this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear on the earth very soon, along with the supreme powerful potencies, and as long as he remained on the earth planet to execute his mission of annihilating the demons and establishing the devotees, the demigods should also remain there to assist him. They should all immediately take birth in the family of the Yadu dynasty, wherein the Lord would also appear in due course of time. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Shri Krishna, would personally appear as the son of Vasudeva. Before his appearance, all the demigods, along with their wives, should appear in different pious families in the world just to assist the Lord in executing his mission. The exact word used here is Tattva Priyartham, which means the demigod should appear on the earth in order to please the Lord. In other words, any living entity who lives only to satisfy the Lord is a demigod. The demigods were further informed that Ananta, the plenary portion of Lord Shri Krishna, who's maintaining the universal planets by extending his millions of hoods, would also appear on earth before Lord Shri Krishna's appearance. They were also informed that the external potency of Vishnu, Maya, with whom all the conditioned souls are enamored, would also appear by the order of the Supreme Lord just to execute his purpose. After instructing and pacifying all the demigods, as well as Bhumi, with sweet words, Lord Brahma, the father of all Prajapatis, or progenitors of universal population, departed for his own abode, the highest material planet called Brahmaloka. The leader of the Yadu dynasty, King Shurasena, was ruling over the country known as Mathura, wherein lies the city of Mathura, as well as the district known as Shurasena, which was named after him. On account of the rule of King Shurasena, Mathura became the capital city of all the kings of the Yadus. Mathura was also made the capital of the kings of the Yadu dynasty because the Yadus were a very pious family and knew that Mathura is the place where Lord Shri Krishna lives eternally, just as he also lives in Dwarka. Once upon a time, Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, just after marrying Devaki, was going home on his chariot with his newly wedded wife. The father of Devaki, known as Devaka, had contributed a sufficient dowry because he was very affectionate towards his daughter. He had contributed hundreds of chariots completely decorated with gold equipment. At that time, Kansa, the son of Ugrasena, in order to please his sister Devaki, had voluntarily taken the reins of the horses of Vasudeva's chariot and was driving. According to the custom of the Vedic civilization, when a girl is married, the brother takes the sister and brother-in-law to their home. Because the newly married girl may feel too much separation from her father's family, the brother goes with her until she reaches her father-in-law's house. The full dowry contributed by Devaka was as follows: 400 elephants fully decorated with golden garlands, 15,000 decorated horses, and 1,800 chariots. He also arranged for 200 beautiful girls to follow his daughter. The Kshatriya system of marriage, still current in India, dictates that when a Kshatriya is married, a few dozen of the bride's young girlfriends, in addition to the bride, go to the house of the king. The followers of the queen are called maidservants, but actually they act as friends of the queen. This practice is prevalent from time immemorial, traceable to at least to the time before the advent of Lord Shri Krishna 5,000 years ago. So Vasudeva brought home another 200 beautiful girls along with his wife Devaki. While the bride and bridegroom were passing along on the chariot, there were different kinds of musical instruments playing to indicate the auspicious moment. There were conch shells, bugles, drums, and kettle drums. Combined together, they were vibrating a nice concert. The procession was passing very pleasingly, and Kansa was driving the chariot. When suddenly there was a miraculous sound vibrated from the sky, which specially announced to Kansa, "Kansa, you are such a fool. You are driving the chariot of your sister and your brother-in-law, but you do not know that the eighth child of this sister will kill you. Kansa was the son of Ugrasena of the Bhoja dynasty. It is said that Kansa was the most demonic of all the Bhoja dynasty kings. Immediately after hearing the prophecy from the sky, he caught hold of Devaki's hair and was just about to kill her with his sword. Vasudev was astonished at Kansa's behavior, and in order to pacify the cruel, shameless brother-in-law, he began to speak as follows with great reason and evidence. He said, "My dear brother-in-law Kansa, you are the most famous king of the Bhoja dynasty, and people know that you are the greatest warrior and a valiant king. How is it that you are so infuriated that you are prepared to kill a woman who is your own sister at this auspicious time of a marriage? Why should you be so much afraid of death? Death is already born along with your birth. From the very day you took your birth, you began to die. Suppose you're 25 years old. That means you have already died 25 years. Every moment, every second, you are dying. Why then should you be so much afraid of death? Final death is inevitable. You may die either today or in 100 years. You cannot avoid death. Why should you be so much afraid? Actually, death means annihilation of the present body. As soon as the present body stops functioning and mixes with the five elements of material nature, the living entity within the body accepts another body according to his present actions and reactions. It is just like when a man walks on the street, he puts forward his foot, and when he is confident that his foot is situated on the sound ground, he lifts the other foot. In this way, one after another, the bodies change and the soul transmigrates. See how the plant forms change from one twig to another so carefully. Similarly, the living entity changes his body as soon as the higher authorities decide on his next body. As long as the living entity is conditioned within this material world, he must take material bodies one after another. His next particular body is offered by the laws of nature according to the actions and reactions of this life. This body is exactly like one of the bodies which we always see in dreams. During our dream of sleep, we create so many bodies according to mental creation. We have seen gold and we have also seen a mountain. So in a dream, we can see a golden mountain by combining the two ideas. Sometimes in dreams, we see that we have a body which is flying in the sky. And at that time, we completely forget our present body. Similarly, these bodies are changing. When you have one body, you forget the past body. During a dream, we may make contact with so many new kinds of bodies, but when we are awake, we forget them all. And actually, these material bodies are the creation of our mental activities. But at the present moment, we do not recollect our past bodies. The nature of the mind is flickering. Sometimes it accepts some things and immediately it rejects the same thing. Accepting and rejecting is the process of the mind in contact with the five objects of sense gratification: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. In its speculative way, the mind comes in touch with the objects of sense gratification. And when the living entity desires a particular type of body, he gets it. Therefore, the body is an offering by the laws of material nature. The living entity accepts a body and comes out again into the material world to enjoy or suffer according to the construction of the body. Unless we have a particular type of body, we cannot enjoy or suffer according to our mental proclivities inherited from the previous life. The particular type of body is actually offered to us according to our mental condition at the time of death. The luminous planets, like the sun, moon, or stars, reflect themselves in different types of reservoirs, like water, oil, or ghee. The reflection moves according to the movement of the reservoir. The reflection of the moon is on the water, and the moving water makes the moon also appear to be moving. But actually, the moon is not moving. Similarly, by mental concoction, the living entity attains different kinds of bodies, although actually he has no connection with such bodies. But on account of illusion, being enchanted by the influence of Maya, the living entity thinks that he belongs to a particular type of body. That is the way of conditioned life. Suppose a living entity is now in a human form of body. He thinks that he belongs to the human community or a particular country or particular place. He identifies himself in that way and unsincerely prepares for another body, which is not required by him. Such desires and mental concoctions are the cause of different types of bodies. The covering influence of material nature is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in whatever body he gets, and he identifies with that body with great pleasure. Therefore, I beg to request you not to be overwhelmed by the dictations of your mind and body. Vasudeva thus requested Kansa not to be envious of his newly married sister. One should not be envious of anyone, because envy is the cause of fear, both in this world and in the next. When one is before Yamaraj, the lord of punishment after death, Vasudeva appealed to Kansa on behalf of Devaki, stating that she was his younger sister. He also appealed at an auspicious moment, at the time of marriage. A younger sister or brother is supposed to be protected as one's child. The position is overall so delicate. Vasudeva reasoned that if you kill her, it will go against your high reputation. In this way, Vasudeva tried to pacify Kansa by good instruction as well as by philosophical discrimination. But Kansa was not to be pacified because his association was demonic. Because of his demonic association, he was a demon, although born in a very high royal family. A demon never cares for any good instruction. He's just like a determined thief. One can give him moral instruction, but it will not be effective. Similarly, those who are demonic or aesthetic by nature can hardly assimilate any good instruction, however authorized it may be. That is the difference between demigods and demons. Those who can accept good instruction and try to live their lives in that way are called demigods, and those who are unable to take such good instruction are called demons. Failing in his attempt to pacify Kansa, Vasudeva wondered how he would protect his wife Devaki. When there is imminent danger, an intelligent person should try to avoid the dangerous position as far as possible. But if, in spite of endeavoring by all intelligence, one fails to avoid the dangerous position, there is no fault on his part. One should try his best to execute his duties, but if the attempt fails, he is not at fault. Vasudeva thought of his wife as follows: for the present, let me save the life of Devaki. Then later on, if there are children, I shall see how to save them. He further thought, if in the future I get a child who can kill Kansa, just as Kansa is thinking, then both Devaki and the child will be saved, because the law of providence is inconceivable. But now, some way or other, let me save the life of Devaki. There is no certainty how a living entity contacts a certain type of body. just as there is no certainty how a blazing fire comes in contact with a certain type of wood in the forest. When there is a forest fire, it is experienced that the blazing fire sometimes leaps over one tree and catches another by the influence of the wind. Similarly, a living entity may be very careful in the matter of executing his duties, but it is still very difficult for him to know what type of body he's going to get in the next life. Maharaj Bharat was very faithfully executing the duties of self-realization, but by chance he developed temporary affection for a deer, and his next life he had to accept the body of a deer. Vasudeva, after deliberating on how to save his wife, began to speak to Kansa with great respect, although Kansa was the most sinful man. Sometimes it happens that a most virtuous person like Vasudeva has to flatter a person like Kansa, a most vicious person. That is the way of all diplomatic transactions. Although Vasudeva was deeply aggrieved, he smiled outwardly. He addressed the shameless Kansa in that way because he was so atrocious. Vasudeva said to Kansa, "My dear brother-in-law, please consider that you have no danger from your sister. You are awaiting some danger because you have heard a prophetic voice in the sky. But the danger is to come from the sons of your sister, who are not present now. And who knows, there may or may not be sons in the future. Considering all this, you are safe for the present. Nor is there cause of fear from your sister. If there are any sons born of her, I promise that I shall present all of them to you for necessary action." Kansa knew the value of Vasudeva's word of honor, and he was convinced by his argument. For the time being, he desisted from the heinous killing of his sister. Thus, Vasudeva was pleased and praised the decision of Kansa. In this way, he returned to his home. Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki gave birth to a child. Thus, she gave birth to 8 male children as well as 1 daughter. When the first son was born, Vasudeva kept his word of honor and immediately brought the child before Kansa. It is said that Vasudeva was very much elevated and famous for his word of honor, and he wanted to maintain this fame. Although it was very painful for Vasudeva to hand over the newly born child, Kansa was very glad to receive him. But he became a little compassionate with the behavior of Vasudeva. This event is very exemplary. For a great soul like Vasudeva, there is nothing considered to be painful in the course of discharging one's duty. A learned person like Vasudeva carries out his duties without hesitation. On the other hand, a demon like Kansa never hesitates in committing any abominable action. It is said, therefore, that a saintly person can tolerate all kinds of miserable conditions of life. A learned man can discharge his duties without awaiting favorable circumstances. A heinous person like Kansa can act in any sinful way, and a devotee can sacrifice everything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kansa became satisfied by the action of Vasudeva. He was surprised to see Vasudeva keeping his promise, and being compassionate upon him and pleased, he began to speak as follows. "My dear Vasudeva, you need not present this child to me. I am not in danger from this child. I have heard that the 8th child born of you and Devaki will kill me. Why should I accept this child unnecessarily? You can take him back." When Vasudeva was returning home with his firstborn child, although he was pleased by the behavior of Kansa, he could not believe in him because he knew that Kansa was uncontrolled. An atheistic person cannot be firm in his word of honor. One who cannot control the senses cannot be steady in his determination. The great politician Chanakya Pandit said, never put your trust in a diplomat or a woman. Those who are addicted to unrestricted sense gratification can never be truthful, nor can they be trusted with any faith. At that time, the great sage Narad came to Kansa. He was informed of Kansa's being compassionate to Vasudeva and returning his firstborn child. Narad was very eager to accelerate the descent of Lord Shri Krishna as soon as possible. He therefore informed Kamsa that in Vrindavan, personalities like Nanda Maharaj and all the other cowhead men and their wives, and on the other side, Vasudeva, his father Shurasena, and all his relatives born in the family of Shrini of the Yadu dynasty, along with all their friends and well-wishers, were actually demigods. Narad warned Kansa to be careful of them, since Kansa and his friends and advisors were all demons. Demons are always afraid of demigods. After being thus informed by Narad about the appearance of the demigods in different families, Kansa at once became very much alarmed. He understood that since the demigods had already appeared, Lord Vishnu must be coming soon. He at once arrested both his brother-in-law Vasudeva and Devaki and put them behind prison bars. Within the prison, shackled in iron chains, Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a male child year after year. And Kansa, thinking each of the babies to be the incarnation of Vishnu, killed them one after another. He was particularly afraid of the eighth child, but after the visit of Narad, he came to the conclusion that any child might be Shri Krishna. Therefore, it was better to kill all the babies who took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. This action of Kansa is not very difficult to understand. There are many instances in the history of the world of persons in the royal order who have killed their father, brother, or whole family and friends for the satisfaction of their ambitions. There is nothing astonishing about this, for members of the demonic, greedy royal order can kill anyone for their nefarious ambitions. Kansa was made aware of his previous birth by the grace of Narad. He learned that in his previous birth he had been a demon by the name of Kalinemi and that he had been killed by Vishnu. Having now taken his birth in the Bhoja family, he decided to become the deadly enemy of the Yadu dynasty. Shri Krishna was going to take birth in that family, and Kansa was very much afraid that he would be killed by Shri Krishna, just as he had been killed in his last birth. He, first of all, imprisoned his father, Ugrasena, because he was the chief king among the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhaka dynasties. And he also occupied the kingdom of Shurasena, Vasudev's father. He declared himself the king of all such places. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first chapter of Krishna, the advent of Lord Shri Krishna. Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods for Lord Shri Krishna in the womb. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. अब हमने कंप्लीट कर लिया है फर्स्ट चैप्टर. आप सबको कैसा लग रहा है? अच्छा पढ़ रहे हैं आप साथ साथ में? आज जन्माष्टमी सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं हमारे साथ और कृष्णा बुक पढ़ रहे हैं जो है श्रीमद् भागवतम का कैंटो 10. थैंक यू वेरी मच. हरि बोल. तो अब हम आ चुके हैं चैप्टर 2 तक. तो उसके लिए चैप्टर मतलब 18 पेजेस हम पढ़ चुके हैं तकरीबन 1 घंटे में. तो 18 तो हम आई थिंक कोशिश करेंगे पेज 40 तक अभी पढ़ लें, लेकिन उससे पहले जैसे मैंने आप सभी से प्रॉमिस किया था कि क्योंकि हम दर्शन कर रहे थे भक्ति वेदांत मैनर की, तो उसके लिए मैंने आप सभी से प्रॉमिस किया था कि मैं आपको दर्शन कराऊंगा श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी के क्वार्टर्स का, जहां पर श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी खुद रहते थे, जो है भक्ति मैनर में। आप सभी ने पहले दर्शन करे ड्यूटीज के। चलिए अब मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ भक्ति वेदांत मैनर के फर्स्ट फ्लोर का, जहाँ पे श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी रहते थे। ये देखिए, ये है वो रूम। ये भक्ति मैनर का फर्स्ट फ्लोर है। यहाँ पे बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल पेंटिंग्स हैं। यहाँ पे श्रीला प्रभुपाद जी का वॉशरूम है, जिसकी मैं आपको फोटोज दिखाऊंगा इस सेशन के एंड में। हरी बोल, थैंक यू वेरी मच। तो अब स्टार्ट करते हैं चैप्टर 2 से, प्रेयर्स बाय द डेमीगॉड्स। उसके बाद है चैप्टर 3, द बर्थ ऑफ लॉर्ड श्री कृष्णा। हरी बोल। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Chapter 2 of the Krishna book, Prayers by the Demigods for Lord Shri Krishna in the Womb. King Kansa not only occupied the kingdoms of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhika dynasties and the kingdom of Shurasena, but he also made alliances with all the other demonic kings as follows: the demon Pralamba, demon Baka, demon Chanura, demon Trinavrakta, demon Aghasur, demon Mustika, demon Arshita, demon Dvidala, demon Putana, demon Keshi, and demon Dhenuka. At that time, Jarasandh was the king of Magad province, known at present as Bihar state. Thus, by his diplomatic policy, Kansa consolidated the most powerful kingdom of his time under the protection of Jarasandh. He made further alliances with such kings as Banasur and Bhaumasur until he was the strongest. Then he began to behave most inimically towards the Yadu dynasty into which Sri Krishna was to take his birth. Being harassed by Kansa, the kings of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andhika dynasties began to take shelter in different states, such as the state of the Kurus, the state of the Panchals, and the states known as Kekaya, Salva, Vidarbha, Nishada, Videha, and Koshal. Kansa broke the solidarity of the Yadu kingdom as well as the Bhoja and Andhika. He made his position the most solid within the vast tract of land known at that time as Bharatvarsha. When Kansa was killing the 6 babies of Devaki and Vasudeva, one after another, many friends and relatives of Kansa approached him and requested him to discontinue these heinous activities. But all of them became worshippers of Kansa. When Devaki became pregnant for the seventh time, the plenary expansion of Sri Krishna, known as Ananta, appeared within her womb. Devaki was overwhelmed with both jubilation and lamentation. She was joyful, for she could understand that Lord Vishnu had taken shelter within her womb. But at the same time, she was sorry that as soon as her child would come out, Kansa would kill him. At that time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, being compassionate upon the Yadus who were fearful due to the atrocities committed by Kansa, ordered the appearance of Yogamaya, his eternal potency. Sri Krishna is the Lord of the universe, but he is especially the Lord of the Yadu dynasty. Yogamaya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. In the Vedas, it is stated that the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has multi-potencies. All the different potencies are acting externally and internally, and Yogamaya is the chief of all potencies. The Lord ordered the appearance of Yogamaya in the land of Vrajbhumi in Vrindavan, which is always decorated and full with beautiful cows. In the Vrindavan, Rohini, one of the wives of Vasudeva, was residing at the house of King Nanda and Queen Yashoda. Not only Rohini, but many others in the Yadu dynasty were scattered all over the country due to their fear of the atrocities of Kansa. Some of them were even living in the caves of the mountains. The Lord thus informed the Yogamaya. Under the imprisonment of Kansa are Devaki and Vasudeva. And at the present moment, my plenary expansion Shesha is within the womb of Devaki. You can arrange the transfer of Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. After this arrangement, I am personally going to appear in the womb of Devaki with my full potencies. Then I shall appear as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, and you shall appear as the daughter of Nand and Yashoda in Vrindavan. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations: incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijay, Vaishnavi, Kumada, Chandika, Krishna, Madhvi, Kanyak, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharda, and Ambika. Sri Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and the supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, power is always subordinate to the powerful. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful. Sri Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people in the Vedic culture worship both powerful and the power. There are many hundreds and thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, and sometimes they are worshipped simultaneously. The worshippers of the power Durga or the external energy of Sri Krishna may achieve all kinds of material success very easily. But anyone who wants to be elevated transcendently must engage in worshipping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion, Anantashesha, is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Shankarshan and will be the source of all spiritual power, or Bal, by which one can attain the highest bliss of life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion of Ananta will be known after his appearance either as Shankarshan or as Balaram. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atma Bala Hineya Labhye. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Lord Balram. Bal does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Lord Balram or Shankarshan. Anant or Shesha is the source of the power which sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is the display of the potency of Shankarshan. Balram or Shankarshan is the source of spiritual power or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityanand Prabhu, who is also the incarnation of Balram, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master is the representative of Balram, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who supplies spiritual strength. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Shri Krishna. Thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yog Maya circumambulated the Lord and then appeared within this material world according to his order. When Yog Maya, the supreme power of the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, transferred Lord Shesha from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Devaki and Rohini were under Yog Maya spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's seventh pregnancy had been a miscarriage. Thus, although Balram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation with full inconceivable potencies. It is understood in this connection that Lord Shri Krishna, first of all, situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way, by seminal injection within the womb of a woman. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord situated in the pure, unalloyed heart of Vasudeva is not different from the original form of Sri Krishna. The appearance of the form of Sri Krishna anywhere, and specifically within the heart, is called Dham. Dham refers not only to Sri Krishna's form, but also to his name, his qualities, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full potencies was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva without being subject to any of the conditions of an ordinary living entity. Since Sri Krishna was there, it is to be understood that all his plenary expansions, such as Narayana, and incarnations like Lord Narsimha and Varaha, were with him. And they were also not subject to the conditions of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second, and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth, but because she was confined within the house of Kansa, she looked just like a suppressed fire, or like misused education. When fire is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kansa's palace, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kansa, however, saw the transcendental beauty of his sister Devaki, and he at once concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken shelter in her womb. She had never before looked so wonderfully beautiful. He could distinctly understand that there was something wonderful within the womb of Devaki. In this way, Kansa became perturbed because he was sure that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would kill him in the future, had now come. Kansa began to think, what is to be done with Devaki? Surely she has Vishnu or Sri Krishna within her womb. So it is certain that Sri Krishna has come to execute the mission of the demigods. And even if I immediately kill Devaki, his mission cannot be frustrated. Kansa knew very well that no one can frustrate the purpose of Vishnu. Any intelligent man can understand that the laws of God cannot be violated. His purpose will be served in spite of all impediments offered by the demons. Kansa thought, if I kill Devaki at the present moment, Vishnu will enforce his supreme will more vehemently. To kill Devaki just now would be a most abominable act. No one desires to kill his reputation, even in an awkward situation. If I kill Devaki now, my reputation will be spoiled. Devaki is a woman, and she is under my shelter. She is pregnant, and if I kill her, immediately my reputation, the results of my pious activities, and my duration of life will all be finished. He further deliberated. As a person who's too cruel is as good as dead, even in this lifetime. No one likes a cruel person during his lifetime, and after his death, people curse him. On account of his self identification with the body, he must be degraded and pushed into the darkest regions of hell. Kansa then thus meditated on all the pros and cons of killing Devaki at that time. Kansa finally decided not to kill Devaki right away, but to wait for the inevitable future. But his mind became absorbed in the animosity against the personality of Godhead. He patiently waited for the delivery of the child, expecting to kill him, as he had done previously with the other babies of Devaki. Thus, being merged in the ocean of animosity against the personality of Godhead, he began to think of Sri Krishna or Vishnu while sitting, while sleeping, while walking, while eating, while working, in all the situations of his life. His mind became so much absorbed with the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that indirectly he could see only Sri Krishna or Vishnu around him. Unfortunately, although his mind was so absorbed in the thought of Vishnu, he is not recognized as a devotee because he was thinking of Sri Krishna as an enemy. The state of mind of a great devotee is also to be always absorbed in Sri Krishna. But a devotee thinks of him favorably, not unfavorably. To think of Sri Krishna favorably is Krishna consciousness, but to think of Sri Krishna unfavorably is not Krishna consciousness. At this time, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narad and followed by many other demigods, invisibly appeared in the house of Kansa. They began to pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in select verses which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of their desires. The first words they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vow. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna descends to this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord has taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill his vow. And they were very glad that the Lord appearing in order to fulfill his mission. Then the demigods addressed the Lord as Satyam Param, the supreme absolute truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the supreme absolute truth is Sri Krishna. One who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the absolute truth. Sri Krishna is the absolute truth because, unlike relative truth, he is truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Sri Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by the supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Sri Krishna was existing. And when there is creation, everything is resting in Sri Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Sri Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is the absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the supreme truth, Sri Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Sri Krishna. If there is any reputation within this material world, the cause of the reputation is Sri Krishna. If there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Sri Krishna. If there is any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Sri Krishna. Therefore, Sri Krishna is the source of all relative truths. This material world is composed of 5 principal elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And all such elements are emanations from Sri Krishna. The material scientists accept these 5 preliminary elements as the cause of the material manifestation. But the elements in their gross and subtle states are produced by Sri Krishna. The living entities who are working within this material world are products of his marginal potency. In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that the whole manifestation is a combination of 2 kinds of energies of Sri Krishna: the superior energy and the inferior energy. The living entities are the superior energy, and the dead material elements are his inferior energy. In its dormant stage, everything remains in Sri Krishna. The demigods continue to offer their respectful prayers unto the supreme form of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. By analytical study of the material manifestation. What is this material manifestation? It is just like a tree. A tree stands on the ground. Similarly, the tree of the material manifestation is standing on the ground of material nature. This material manifestation is compared to a tree because a tree is ultimately cut off in due course of time. A tree is called vrish. Vriksh means that thing which will be ultimately cut off. Therefore, this tree of the material manifestation cannot be accepted as the ultimate truth because it is influenced by time. But Sri Krishna's body is eternal. He existed before the material manifestation. He's existing while the material manifestation is continuing. And when it will be dissolved, he will continue to exist. Therefore, only Sri Krishna can be accepted as the absolute truth. The Katha Upanishad also cites this example of the tree of the material manifestation standing on the ground of material nature. This tree has 2 kinds of fruits: distress and happiness. Those who are living in the tree of the body are just like two birds. One bird is the localized aspect of Sri Krishna known as Paramatma, and the other bird is the living entity. The living entity is eating the fruits of this material manifestation. Sometimes he eats the fruit of happiness, and sometimes he eats the fruit of distress. But the other bird is not interested in eating the fruit of distress or happiness because he is self satisfied. The Katha Upanishad states that one bird on the tree of the body is eating the fruit, and the other bird is simply witnessing. The roots of this tree extend in three directions. This means that the root of the tree is the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Just as the tree's root expands, so by association of the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, one expands his duration of material existence. The tastes of the fruits are of four kinds: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and ultimately liberation. According to the different associations in the three modes of material nature, the living entities are tasting different kinds of religiosity, different kinds of economic development, different kinds of sense gratification, and different kinds of liberation. Practically, all material work is performed in ignorance. But because there are three qualities, sometimes the quality of ignorance is covered with goodness or passion. The taste of these material foods is accepted through five senses. The five sense organs through which knowledge is acquired are subjected to six kinds of whips: lamentation, illusion, infirmity, death, hunger, and thirst. This material body, or the material manifestation, is covered by seven layers: skin, flesh, blood, marrow, bone, fat, and semen. The branches of the tree are eight: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. There are 9 gates in this body: 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, 1 genital, 1 rectum. And there are 10 kinds of internal air passing within the body: pran, pan, dhyan, vyan, saman, etc. The two birds seated in this tree, as explained above, are the living entity and the localized Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma. The root cause of the material manifestation described here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself to take charge of the three qualities of the material world. Vishnu takes charge of the mode of goodness, Brahma takes charge of the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva takes charge of mode of ignorance. Brahma, by the mode of passion, creates this manifestation. Lord Vishnu maintains this manifestation by the mode of goodness, and Lord Shiva annihilates it by the modes of ignorance. The whole creation ultimately rests in the Supreme Lord. He is the cause of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And when the whole manifestation is dissolved in its subtle form as the Supreme Lord's energy, it rests within his body. At present, the demigods prayed. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is appearing just for the maintenance of this manifestation. Actually, the Supreme Cause is one, but less intelligent persons, being deluded by the three modes of material nature, see that the material world is manifested through different causes. Those who are intelligent can see that the cause is one, Sri Krishna. As it is stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Pramaha Krishna Sarva Karana Karanam. Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the cause of all causes. Brahma is the deputed agent for creation. Vishnu is the expansion of Krishna for maintenance. And Lord Shiva is the expansion of Sri Krishna for dissolution. Our dear Lord, the demigods prayed, it is very difficult to understand your eternal form or personality. People in general are unable to understand your actual form. Therefore, you are personally descending to exhibit your original eternal form. Somehow, people can understand the different incarnations of your Lordship, but they are puzzled to understand the eternal form of Sri Krishna with two hands, moving among human beings exactly like one of them. This eternal form of your Lordship gives ever increasing transcendental pleasure to the devotees. But for the non devotees, this form is very dangerous. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is very pleasing to the sadhus. But this form is very dangerous for the demons because Sri Krishna also descends to kill the demons. He is therefore simultaneously pleasing to the devotees and dangerous to the demons. Our dear lotus-eyed Lord, you are the source of pure goodness. There are many great sages who simply by samadhi or transcendently meditating upon your lotus feet and thus being absorbed in your thought have easily transformed the great ocean of nascence created by the material nature into no more than the water in the calf's hoofprint. The purpose of meditation is to focus the mind upon the personality of Godhead, beginning from his lotus feet. Simply by meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages cover over this vast ocean of material existence without difficulty. O self-illuminated one, the great saintly persons who have crossed over the ocean of nascence by the help of the transcendental boat of your lotus feet have not taken away that boat. It is still lying on this side. If one takes a boat to cross over a river, the boat also goes with one to the other side of the river. And so when one reaches the destination, how can the same boat be available to those who are still on this side? To answer this difficulty, the demigods say in their prayer that the boat of the Lord's lotus feet are not taken away. The devotees still remaining on this side are able to pass over the ocean of material nature because the pure devotees do not take the boat with them when they cross over. When one simply approaches the boat, the whole ocean of material nascence is reduced to the size of the water in a calf's hoofprint. Therefore, the devotees do not need to take the boat to the other side. They simply cross the ocean immediately. Because the great saintly persons are compassionate toward all conditioned souls, the boat is still lying on this side. In other words, one can meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord at any time. And by doing so, one cross over the great ocean of material existence. Meditation means concentration upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Lotus feet indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are impersonalists do not recognize the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore their object of meditation is something impersonal. The demigods express their mature verdict that persons who are interested in meditating on something void or impersonal cannot cross over the ocean of nascence. Such persons are simply imagining that they have become liberated. O lotus-eyed Lord, their intelligence is contaminated because they fail to meditate upon the lotus feet of your Lordship. As a result of this neglectful activity, the impersonalists fall down again into the material way of conditioned life. Although they may temporarily rise to the point of impersonal realization. Impersonalists undergo severe austerities and penances to merge themselves into the Brahma effulgence or impersonal Brahma existence. But their minds are not free from material contamination. They have simply tried to negate the material way of thinking. That does not mean that they have become liberated. Thus, they fall down. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the impersonalist has to undergo great tribulation in realizing his ultimate goal. At the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also stated that without devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve liberation from the bondage of fruitive activities. The statement of Lord Sri Krishna is there in the Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. The statement of great sage Narad is there, and here also the demigods confirm it. Persons who have not taken to devotional service are understood to have come short of the ultimate purpose of knowledge and are not favored by your grace. The impersonalists simply think that they are liberated, but actually they have no feeling for the personality of Godhead. They think that when Sri Krishna comes into the material world, he accepts a material body. They therefore overlook the transcendental body of Sri Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In spite of conquering material lust and rising to the point of liberation, the impersonalists fall down. If they are engaged just in knowing things for the sake of knowledge and do not take to the devotional service of the Lord, they cannot achieve the desired result. Their achievement is the trouble they take, and that is all. It is clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to realize Brahma identification is not all. Brahma identification may help one become joyful, without material attachment or detachment, and to achieve the platform of equanimity. But after this stage, one has to take to devotional service. When one takes to devotional service, after being elevated to the platform of Brahma realization, he is then admitted into the spiritual kingdom for permanent residence in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the result of devotional service. Those who are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never fall down like the impersonalists. Even if the devotees fall down, they remain affectionately attached to their Lord. They can meet all kinds of obstacles on the path of devotional service, and freely, without any fear, they can surmount such obstacles. Because of their surrender, they are certain that Sri Krishna will always protect them. As it is promised by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, my devotees are never vanquished. Our dear Lord, the demigods continued, you have appeared in your original unalloyed form, the eternal form of goodness, for the welfare of all living entities within this material world. Taking advantage of your appearance, all of them can now very easily understand the nature and form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who belong to the four divisions of social order, the brahmachari, grahasthas, vanprastha, and sannyasis, can all take advantage of your appearance. Dear Lord, husband of the goddess of fortune, devotees who are dovetailed in your service do not fall down from their high position like the impersonalists. Being protected by you, the devotees are able to traverse over the heads of many of Maya's commanders-in-chief, who always put stumbling blocks on the path of liberation. Dear Lord, you appear in your eternal transcendental form for the benefit of the living entities, so that they can see you face to face and offer their worshipful sacrifices by ritualistic performance of the Vedas, mystic meditation, and devotional service as recommended in the scriptures. Dear Lord, if you did not appear in your eternal transcendental form, full of bliss and knowledge, a form which can eradicate all kinds of speculative ignorance about your position, then all people would simply speculate about you according to their respective modes of material nature. The appearance of Sri Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone imagines the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his mode of material nature. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is the oldest person. Therefore, a section of religionists imagine that God must be very old, and therefore they depict a form of Lord like a very old man. But in the same Brahma Samhita, it is contradicted. Although he is the oldest of all living entities, he has his eternal form as a fresh youth. The exact words used in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam are Vijnanam, means transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vijnanam is also experienced knowledge. Transcendental knowledge has to be accepted by the descending process of disciplinic succession, as Brahma presents the knowledge of Sri Krishna in the Brahma Samhita. The Brahma Samhita is Vijnanam, as realized by Brahma's transcendental experience. And in that way, he presented the form and the pastimes of Sri Krishna in the transcendental abode. This knowledge is ajanma bheda para pamarjanam, that which can smash all kinds of speculation in ignorance. People are imagining the form of the Lord. Sometimes he has no form, sometimes he has form, according to their different imaginations. But the presentation of Sri Krishna in the Brahma Samhita is Vijnanam, scientific, experienced knowledge given by Lord Brahma and accepted by Lord Chaitanya. There is no doubt about it. Sri Krishna's form, Sri Krishna's flute, Sri Krishna's color, everything is reality. Here it is stated that this Vijnanam is always defeating all kinds of speculative knowledge. Therefore, without your appearing as Sri Krishna as you are, neither ajnana, destruction of the nescence of speculative knowledge, nor Vijnanam would be realized. In other words, your appearance will vanquish the ignorance of speculative knowledge and establish the real experienced knowledge of authorities like Lord Brahma. Men, influenced by the three modes of material nature, imagine their own God according to the modes of material nature. In this way, God is presented in various ways, but your appearance will establish what the real form of God is. The highest blunder committed by the impersonalists is to think that when the incarnation of God comes, he accepts the form of matter in the mode of goodness. Actually, the form of Sri Krishna or Narayana is transcendental to any material idea. Even the greatest impersonalist, Shankaracharya, has admitted the material creation is caused by avikta, impersonal manifestation of matter, or the non-phenomenal total reservoir of matter. But Sri Krishna is transcendental to that material conception. That is expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam as Shuddha Sattva, or transcendental goodness. He does not belong to the material mode of goodness, and he is above the position of material goodness. He belongs to the transcendental, eternal status of bliss and knowledge. Dear Lord, when you appear in your different incarnations, you take different names and forms according to different situations. Lord Shri Krishna is your name because you are all attractive. You are called Shyama Sundar because of your transcendental beauty. Shyam means blackish. Yet it is said that you are more beautiful than thousands of cupids. Although you appear in a color which is compared to the blackish cloud, because you are the transcendental absolute, your beauty is many, many times more attractive than the delicate body of Cupid. Sometimes you are called Girdhari because you lifted the hill known as Govardhan. You are sometimes called Nandanandan or Vasudeva or Devaki Nandan because you appear as the son of Maharaj Nanda or Vasudeva or Devaki. Impersonalists think that your many names or forms are given according to a particular type of work and quality because they accept you from the position of a material observer. Our dear Lord, the way of understanding is not to study your absolute nature, form, and activities by mental speculation. One must engage himself in devotional service. Then one can understand your absolute nature and your transcendental form, name, and qualities. Actually, only a person who has a little taste for the service of your lotus feet can understand your transcendental nature or form and qualities. Others may go on speculating for millions of years, but it is not possible for them to understand even a single part of your actual position. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, cannot be understood by the non devotees because there is a curtain of Yog Maya which covers Sri Krishna's actual features. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I am not exposed to anyone and everyone. When Sri Krishna came, he was actually present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and everyone saw him. But not everyone could understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, everyone who died in his presence attained complete liberation from material bondage and was transferred to the spiritual world. O Lord, the impersonalists or non-devotees cannot understand your name is identical with your form. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his name and his actual form. In the material world, there is a difference between form and name. The mango fruit is different from the name of the mango. One cannot taste the mango fruit simply by chanting mango, mango, mango. But the devotee who knows that there is no difference between the name and the form of the Lord chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and realizes that he is always in Shri Krishna's company. For persons who are not very advanced in absolute knowledge of the Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna exhibits his transcendental pastimes. Such person can simply think of the pastimes of the Lord and get full benefit. Since there is no difference between the transcendental name and form of the Lord, there is no difference between the transcendental pastimes and the form of the Lord. For those who are less intelligent, like women, laborers, or mercantile class, the great sage Vyasadeva wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, Sri Krishna is present in his different activities. Now, Mahabharata is history, and simply by studying, hearing, and memorizing the transcendental activities of Sri Krishna, the less intelligent can also gradually rise to the standard of pure devotees. The pure devotees who are always absorbed in the thought of the transcendental lotus feet of Sri Krishna and who are always engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness are never to be considered to be in the material world. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness with body, mind, and activities are to be considered liberated even within this body. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord have already transcended the material position. Sri Krishna appears in order to give a chance to both the devotees and the non-devotees for realization of the ultimate goal of life. The devotees get the direct chance to see him and worship him. Those who are not on the platform get the chance to become acquainted with his activities and thus become elevated to the same position. Our dear Lord, O Supreme Controller, when you appear on earth, all the demons like Kansa and Jarasandh will be vanquished, and all good fortune will be ushered into the world. When you walk on the globe, your lotus feet will impress on the ground the marks of your souls, such as the flag, the trident, and the thunderbolt. Thus, you will grace both the earth and us on the heavenly planets who shall see those marks. O dear Lord, the demigods continued, you are unborn. Therefore, we do not find any reason for your appearance other than for your pleasure pastimes. Although the reason for the appearance of the Lord is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, he transcends just to give protection to the devotees and vanquish the non-devotees. Actually, he descends for his pleasure meeting with the devotees, not really to vanquish the non-devotees. The non-devotees can be vanquished simply by one kick of material nature. The actions and reactions of material nature, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, are being carried out automatically. But simply by taking shelter of your holy name, the devotees are sufficiently protected, because your holy name and your personality are non-different. The protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the non-devotees are actually not the business of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he descends, it is just for his transcendental pleasure. There cannot be any other reason for his appearance. Our dear Lord, you are appearing as the best of the Yadu dynasty, and we are offering our respectful, humble obeisances unto your lotus feet. Before this appearance, you also appeared as the fish incarnation, as the horse incarnation, as the tortoise incarnation, as the half-man, half-lion incarnation, as the boar incarnation, as the swan incarnation, as King Ramachandra, as Parshuram, and as many other incarnations. You appeared just to protect the devotees, and we request you in your present appearance as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself to give us similar protection all over the three worlds and remove all obstacles for the peaceful execution of our lives. Dear Mother Devaki, within your womb is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing along with his plenary extensions. He is the original personality of Godhead, appearing for our welfare. Therefore, you should not be afraid of your brother, the king of Bhoja. Your son, Lord Shri Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will appear for the protection of the pious Yadu dynasty. The Lord is appearing not alone, but accompanied by his immediate plenary portion, Baldev. Devaki was very much afraid of her brother Kansa because he had already killed so many of her children. So she was very anxious about Shri Krishna. In the Vishnu Puran, it is stated that in order to pacify Devaki, all the demigods, along with their wives, used to visit her to encourage her not to be afraid that her son would be killed by Kansa. Shri Krishna, who was within her womb, was to appear not only to diminish the burden of the world, but specifically to protect the interests of the Yadu dynasty, and certainly to protect Devaki and Vasudeva. It is understood that Shri Krishna had been transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, and from there to her womb. Thus, all the demigods worshipped Devaki, the mother of Shri Krishna. Thus, after worshipping the transcendental form of the Lord, all the demigods, with Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva placed in front, departed for their heavenly abodes. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport, the second chapter of Krishna, prayers by the demigods for Lord Shri Krishna in the womb. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. हमारे साथ जुड़े रहने के लिए. We have finished 2 chapters of कृष्णा बुक। नेक्स्ट चैप्टर जो है वो तकरीबन 7-8 पेजेस का है, जो है चैप्टर 3, बर्थ ऑफ श्री कृष्णा। तो वो खत्म करने का टाइम है या नहीं है, वो तो आई थिंक मुझे बताने के लिए कोई नहीं है। तो मैं कि आई थिंक 9 पेजेस के लिए 1 घंटा और लग जाएगा। तो क्या आप चाहते हैं कि मैं एक और चैप्टर पढूं, चैप्टर 3? तो आप बता सकते हैं, तो मैं उसके लिए इंस्ट्रक्शंस ले सकता हूँ प्रभु जी से, अगर वो अलाउ करेंगे, क्योंकि आज बहुत सारे सेशंस हैं, शाम को भी एक सेशन है। तो या अगर आप चाहें तो मैं ये 3 चैप्टर्स का कॉपी आप सबके साथ व्हाट्सएप पे शेयर कर सकता हूँ, क्योंकि आपने मेरे साथ पढ़े 2 चैप्टर्स, तो आगे भी आप 2 चैप्टर्स, तीनों चैप्टर्स पढ़ सकते हैं। ऐसा करना बेटर रहेगा। आई थिंक शाम का भी आज का सेशन है, तो हमारी मुलाकात आपसे शाम को भी होगी, शाम को 8 से 9। और कल है श्रीला प्रभुपाद की व्यास पूजा, तो उसके लिए भी हमारा सेशन है सुबह 7 बजे से और रात को 8 बजे। आज शाम के प्रोग्राम में होगा हरे कृष्णा महामंत्र का जाप, भजन तथा हरि नाम संकीर्तन, वैश वरिष्ठ वैष्णवों द्वारा संक्षिप्त वार्ता और भगवान के सुंदर विग्रहों के दर्शन। जाने से पहले जैसा मैंने आपसे प्रॉमिस करा था, तो मैं आपको जो भक्ति मैनर का विग्रह है उसके दर्शन कराना चाहता हूँ। तो ये रहा भक्ति मैनर के श्री कृष्ण भगवान और श्रीमती राधा रानी। यहाँ पे आप उनके विग्रह का दर्शन कर सकते हैं। भक्ति मैनर में और भी चीजें थी, ये मैंने आपको डोर दिखाया था जहाँ पे शिला प्रभुपाद का रूम था। यहाँ पे और भी काफी सामान रखा हुआ है। स्टैम्प इशू करी थी इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने, कार्पेट हैं, शिला प्रभुपाद के ने जो पहना था वो सब हैं, उनके एयरप्लेन के स्लीपर्स हैं। अगर हम आगे चलें तो शिला प्रभुपाद का हारमोनियम भी है यहाँ पर, और शिला प्रभुपाद जी का रिकॉर्डर भी है वहाँ पर। ये वीडियो मैं दिखा चुका हूँ। यहाँ पे शिला प्रभुपाद जी का रूम भी है, बेड है, अगर आप देखें पर फोटो है डीटीज का। यहाँ पे लेटे हुए शिला प्रभुपाद जी की पिक्चर भी है। यहाँ पे देखें तो शिला प्रभुपाद का यूज किया हुआ पैलिंक्विन 1977 का, ये भी यहाँ पे पूरा रिस्टोर्ड है। यहाँ पे शिला प्रभुपाद जी का बाथरूम में रखा हुआ एक वुडन स्टूल है और लोटा है, और ये है भक्ति वेदांता मैनर। बाहर से ऐसा दिखता है। और ये एक गार्डन था जिसको कहा जाता है कॉन्टेम्पलेटिव गार्डन। यहाँ पे 3-4 सीट्स हैं, सिर्फ लोग आके शांति में मेडिटेशन करते हैं, भगवान को ध्यान लगाते हैं। जैसे आप ये देख सकते हैं, यहाँ पे सीट है। इट इज ऑल सराउंडेड बाय ट्रीज एंड बर्ड्स। जॉर्ज हैरिसन चाहते थे कि ऐसा कॉर्नर बने यहाँ पे, जहाँ पे सब भगवान श्री कृष्ण को याद कर पाएं, उनकी लीलाओं को याद कर पाएं। और यहाँ पे ऐसे भगवत गीता के कोट्स भी लिखे हुए हैं पूरे एरिया में। और ये पिक्चर है, और यहाँ पे हिस्ट्री दी गई है। देयर लॉर्डशिप श्री श्री राधा गोकुलानंदा were installed by his divine grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada on Shri Krishna Janmashtami 21st August 1973 को ये डीटीज इंस्टॉल हुई थी, जैसे आप देख सकते हैं। भक्ति वेदांत मैनर में। तो बहुत ही सुंदर डीटीज हैं इंस्टॉल यहाँ पे। मैं आशा करता हूँ कि आप भी जरूर विजिट कर पाएं भक्ति मैनर को। थैंक यू वेरी मच हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। अब आपसे मुलाकात होगी शाम को, और आप सभी को आ, एकादशी की, एकादशी, जन्माष्टमी की शुभकामनाएं। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। थैंक यू। हरे कृष्णा।